Hello and welcome to Spectrum Television News at 12. I am Ubong King. It's coming to you live from the beautiful hills of Ibiakuran. First, let's take a look at the headlines. Vice President Oshibanjo says federal government invested 300 billion naira in private sector in 2021. Federal government says right-of-way stalls 1,240 power projects. Russia, Ukraine reach agreement on ceasefire. Details of these stories and more in a moment. We begin the news with a report that the Vice President Yemi Oshibanjo has said that in the bid to close the infrastructural gap in the private sector, that the federal government has invested an estimated 300 billion naira in the sector in 2021. In his keynote address at the inauguration of the Bankers' House in Abuja, Oshibanjo also disclosed that the government had invested 1 trillion naira seed capital to launch the 15 trillion naira Infraco project. The Vice President disclosed all this while emphasizing the importance of the private sector to the growth of the Nigerian economy. According to him, the success of the development programs and reforms of the government were largely reliant on the private sector, adding that the government was willing to do whatever it takes to support the sector. In another development, the federal government has blamed the current wave of poor power supply experienced in the Federal Capital Territory and other parts of the country on low water levels in hydropower dams. The Minister of Power, Abubakar Aliyu, disclosed this to State House correspondents during the weekly media briefing organized by the Presidential Communications Team at the State House Briefing Room, Abuja. Aliyu also revealed that the government was working to optimize gas supply to ensure stable power. According to him, the federal government was speeding up efforts on the proposed installation of 10 power transformers, which will be done in tandem with the setting up of 10 additional mobile substations to improve electric power supply nationwide. Meanwhile, state governors have lambasted the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited (NNPC) for not remitting any funds at last month's Federation Accounts Allocation Committee meeting. The chairman of the Nigeria Governors Forum and Governor of Ekiti State, Kayode Fayemi, also wondered how the oil firm was bold enough to declare profit when it had not been meeting its obligations. Fayemi spoke alongside other governors during the Nigerian Governors Forum session on natural resources at the Nigerian International Energy Summit 2022 in Abuja. He specifically pointed out that in the last Federation Accounts Allocation Committee meeting in February, that the NNPC made 0 remittance to the Federation. It could be recalled that in August last year, the NNPC declared 287 billion naira profit after tax for its 2022 financial year, which was the first profit ever made by the oil firm in 4 years. And away from that, the Minister of Labour, Chris Ngige, has claimed that the federal government does not have the money to meet some of the demands of the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU. ASU embarked on a 1-month warning strike on February 14. The union explained that the decision was taken due to the federal government's delay to implement the agreement, which included issues on salaries, the revitalization fund for universities, and the adoption of the University Transparency Accountability Solution (UTAS) payroll software. Speaking with newsmen recently, Ngige pointed out that the 1.3 trillion revitalization fund was a promise made to ASU by ex-President Goodluck Jonathan when Nigeria's finances were stable. The minister said President Buhari's administration informed ASU of its inability to honor the previous revitalization fund agreement but promised to explore other options to fund the universities. In the meantime, the first batch of Nigerian evacuees from Ukraine has arrived at Abuja. This is according to an update by the Nigerians in Diaspora Commission on its Twitter handle. The passengers, numbering about 450 from Romania, landed at the private jet terminal of the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport by 7:10 a.m. today. Reports say there were mostly students who fled Ukraine to Romania following Russia's invasion of the Eastern European country. The evacuees were received by government officials and expected to undergo documentation, after which they will head home and self-isolate in line with the COVID-19 protocols. And in education, the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board (JAMB) has announced plans to register 1.5 million candidates by March 26, the deadline set for the registration of candidates. Speaking in Abuja after monitoring the exercise in Buhari and Dusai, on the outskirts of the nation's capital, JAMB Registrar Professor Ishaq Oloyede said the board has so far registered over 500,000 candidates for the Unified Tertiary Matriculation Examination. In a separate development, the attempt by the federal government to extradite embattled Deputy Commissioner of Police Abba Kyari may have hit a brick wall, as there were pending charges against him before a federal high court by the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency. Kyari has been in NDLEA custody since February 14 for attempting to sell 25 kilograms of cocaine, which was seized from some drug dealers. The NDLEA had also accused him of being a drug kingpin. Reports say the Attorney General of the Federation, Abubakar Malami, had in a statement by his media aide, Oroma Gwandu, stated that the Nigerian government was willing to extradite Kyari to the United States, where he has been indicted for his role in an international fraud involving notorious scammer Raymond Abbas, also known as Hush Puppy. And away from that, the Nigerian Customs Service has set a revenue target of 3.2 trillion naira for 2022. This was disclosed by the Comptroller General of the NCS, Colonel Hamid Ali, retired, while defending the 2022 budget of the agency before the Senate Committee on Customs, Excise and Tariff. According to him, the agency is expecting 2.2 trillion naira from the Federation, 253.23 billion naira from non-federation, and 746.96 billion naira from import value-added tax. He added that the new target was 965.42 billion naira higher than the agency's target for 2021 and 1.55 trillion naira higher than what the National Assembly had set for revenue-generating agencies in 2022. And in a similar development, the Nigerian Customs Service Kebbi State Area Command says it has handed over 723 parcels of cannabis and other contraband items valued at 32 million naira to the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency (NDLEA) in Birnin Kebbi, the state capital. The public relations officer of the command, Nasiru Banga, in a statement said all the seized items were intercepted within 3 weeks and had been handed over to the NDLEA in Kebbi State Command in line with interagency collaborations between Customs and the NDLEA. He said the command has zero tolerance for smuggling of fuel and foreign rice, promising rice farmers in the state that the command was committed to seeing that modalities were put in place to ensure that activities of smugglers do not affect their farm products. And back here, prices of imported goods may be on constant increase if government at all levels do not pay attention to the manufacturing sector by ensuring that the country's exportation of locally made goods influence the value of naira in the market. Some vehicle spare parts dealers in Abak local government area expressed concerns that the increase in spare parts leading to the hike in transportation costs for the public is as a result of the naira exchange at the foreign market. And here is the report.
Dealers, one of the major causes of the increase in spare parts results from naira devaluation in the exchange market. Another cause is the increase in the cost of custom clearance at the border, which they say has negatively affected the importers. They, however, lamented that the constant hike in the goods also affected the rate of patronage, leading to low sales as customers couldn't agree to the new prices.
Things are costing and it's affecting us. It's affecting the retailers, even the buyers. Okada, the passengers, everybody are complaining because of high cost of things. Motorcycle now 300 and something thousand. This Belgium ones we are selling like 2 years ago, we are selling it 70,000, 80,000. Now it's 200 and something thousand. Everybody are complaining, even spare parts. Something of last week, something of 1.5 last week, now 2,000.
Before, things is cheap, and the market is moving. It's moving still, but it's very costly because of the condition of the country. That is the problem. Because if the country is very good, things will be better. There's some people, some of them, they are tired on this buying costly things. Because whenever they are coming, they will start to complain. Many are complaining. Many are understanding that it is everywhere.
And too much I can machine song and not like 20 naira, 10 naira, and I'm 50. I'm going to say I'm 20 naira, I'm 100 naira. Like this cost nice 150. Like 200 per dam, I'm 350 naira. So when you get affect I must one side. So you must see what bike affect. I'm not affect the passenger because I mean I'm telling must see what bike I'm is over. And then take about 15, I will about 50, 80, 100 naira. So 150. I can price say
They also said that governments should focus on making exports rather than constantly depending on import.
And still to come in the news, Joshua, you seek to unhold as Ukrainian joins war. Do stay with us. Thanks for rejoining us on the news. Now to the rest of the stories. In Africa, Burkina Faso's military junta has appointed Albert Ougarado as the new transitional prime minister. Ougarado, a 52-year-old economist, was said to have experience in management of public administrations, development projects, and private companies. Reports say he will form a government whose main task will be to secure the country from an Islamist insurgency that has killed thousands and forced at least 1.5 million people to flee their homes. And still in Africa, Sweden has said it will put its force out of the United Nations peacekeeping mission in Mali a year earlier than planned. No reasons have been given for the early withdrawal, but Sweden had previously said the presence of Russian military contractors in the country was making Swedish troops' presence untenable. Recall that the military had said its 220 soldiers would leave Mali in June 2023. And elsewhere, Senegal's foreign ministry has said a Facebook post by Ukraine's embassy that called on Senegalese volunteers to enlist in the fight against Russia was illegal. In a statement, the ministry said recruitment of volunteers, mercenaries, and other foreign fighters was illegal in the country and punishable by law. Reports say Ukrainian Ambassador Yuri Pyodarov was summoned to the ministry to explain the Thursday post, where after verifying its legitimacy was asked to take it down. It could be recalled that Senegal was among 17 African countries that abstained from voting at the UN General Assembly on a resolution deploring Russia's invasion of Ukraine and calling for immediate withdrawal of its forces. On the foreign scene, the Ukrainian and Russian negotiators have reached certain agreements on ceasefire as the war between the two nations enters its 9th day. Reports say Russia and Ukraine met for the second time at Belarusian borders and agreed that the two sides should provide for a number of humanitarian issues. During their talks, representatives of the two nations agreed on a temporary ceasefire to allow the evacuation of citizens and delivery of aid to areas where fierce fighting has been taking place. One of Ukrainian representatives and advisor to the president, Mikhailo Polodyak, say the second round of ceasefire talks had not yielded the results Kiev hoped for. He said that both sides had agreed to meet again sometime next week to continue the peace talk. On a COVID-19 update, the 3rd of March 2022, 8 new confirmed cases were recorded in Nigeria, and to date, 254,606 cases have been confirmed, and 249,154 cases have been discharged, while 3,142 deaths have been recorded in 36 states and the Federal Capital Territory. The 8 new cases are reported from 2 states, Rivers 5 and the FCT 3. A multi-sectoral National Emergency Operations Center activated at Level 2 continues to coordinate the national response activities. On our business news, amidst speculations that Shell Petroleum Development Company will exit the Nigerian market, the Ministry of Interior Affairs has said that Shell and Mobil will not leaving the country anytime soon. A statement by the Vice President Human Resources Shell Olukayode Ogunleye assured the federal government that Shell, ExxonMobil were not leaving the country. Ogunleye said although most of their oil wells has been shut down due to insecurity in the Niger Delta region, that the companies would remain in the country. And on to sports now. Alexander Usyk does not know when he will box again after signing up to defend Ukraine from Russia's invasion. The former undisputed cruiserweight world champion, who is now WBA, IBF and WBO heavyweight king, having dethroned Anthony Joshua in September, has activated his contractual clause to force a rematch. Speaking via a video link from a basement in Kyiv, Usyk told newsmen that he does not know when he was going to be stepping back into the ring. And still in sports, Chelsea striker Timo Werner looks set to leave the club amid uncertainty surrounding its ownership. The German international scored 1 goal and set up 2 others as the Blues beat Luton 3-2 in the FA Cup 5th round this week. Reports say the 25-year-old has been given fewer minutes than any of Chelsea's other senior attackers this season, and his agents were worried. Meanwhile, the £47.5 million signing from RB Leipzig has become increasingly frustrated with his lack of game time and was considering his options ahead of the summer transfer window. And on entertainment news, Nigerian singer Timaya Inetemi has broken the silence amid his alleged arrest and hit and run accusation. On his Twitter page recently, the Mama Krono stated that he did not have bad intentions towards anybody. This comes shortly after viral videos emerged on Thursday showing the singer being carried away by men in police uniforms. In another video, the singer was explaining to the policeman while making gestures to the car packed outside the building. Reports say the reason for the arrest has not been made known to the public. And that's the size of our package for you at this time. Do ensure to follow us on social media and subscribe to our YouTube channel, all of which you can find on our website at www.spectrumtv.ng. You have been watching Spectrum Television News at 12. I am Ubong Kings. Do have yourself a wonderful afternoon.